is going on, guys? So today we're back with another Pokemon Masters video, and today we're actually going to be going over Mew's Sync Grid. Professor Oak and Mew's Sync Grid. So it was actually found out through some form of data mining that Mew should, again, they could change this, should get its Sync Grid whenever it's released. So if that's the case, all of the stuff was actually found in the data mine to look at it anyways, so we're actually going to head over there to, you know, that tool that we've been using for like the sync pairs that haven't been, you guys, you understand. Here we are, and this thing looks massive. So it's actually kind of interesting, the layout that they give this. Now, it's different because we haven't necessarily gotten any legendary or mythical sync grids unlocked yet, so it's kind of a new direction, and this whole snowflake type pattern that they've got going here really works for Mew, and I think it's really well thought out and really interesting how they did this. So, as usual, we're going to go over every single tile. Since this is more of a different shape than usual, we're actually just probably going to start in the center and then work our way clockwise around the entire sync grid. So, starting from the center, we do have a speed, special defense, special attack, defense, special attack, and HP. All those are pretty normal. No energy cost. They only cost 5 orbs apiece. And then moving up into the top section. So what's interesting is each one of these little clusters kind of go over a specific move. So you'll notice this very top one here has speed, and then we have 3 blizzards that actually increase the power of Blizzard. We also have Swift, Move Gauge Refresh 3, which is great. That means every now and then we're going to get an extra move bar out of Swift, which is good. I actually like that. X Speed, MP Refresh 3, which means we should get, every now and then we should get an extra X Speed out of that. And then we actually have a Blizzard Accuracy plus 20. So that's actually really cool. That's very welcomed in these types of moves that we have here. So moving on to the next little cluster here, we do have a Swift plus 5, we have HP plus 20, another Swift plus 5. We do have our Sync move, upgrade, plus 25 base power. That's all fine and dandy. Now, the 3 on the very outside corner, being said I'm recording this well before Mew comes out, we don't know necessarily if they are going to give us all 5 of our sync move levels, or if we're just going to get the 1, and maybe they give us a second one for the event and kind of hold out on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th one. But assuming that we're only going to get 2 like they've been doing it, these 3 on the outside are actually going to be covered up by a level 3 sync move, so we won't be able to get them initially, but we'll go over them anyways. We do have inertia, which the higher the user speed, the more it powers up sync moves, which is interesting. I mean, our sync move is actually pretty decent, but I'd love to see that move make an appearance on some other sync pairs. I think that would be really cool. We do have another Swift, Power plus 5, which is great. Then we do have Blind Spot here, which it doesn't give me a description for, but luckily I went through and I jotted it down. So the more the user's evasiveness has been raised, the more it powers up sync moves. So it's kind of weird that this whole like little quadrant here is all pertaining to powering up your sync move. Now, usually, like you can see way over here, we do have another sync move base power boost, but I'd say that if you only really could afford one, this corner seems to be very well suited for that. But anyways, we'll talk about that in a little bit, hopefully. So moving on to the next little cluster, we do have Fire Blast in this corner, which is perfectly fine. All the Fire Blast power increases plus that accuracy is great. We do have a WS3. So WS3 actually is going to stand for Weather Surge 3, which is going to power up moves when weather conditions are in effect. And that is actually pretty amazing because it's going to basically play into the fact that Thunder and Blizzard have interesting mechanics where they never miss, and if you could play with that plus get this Weather Surge, that means they would never miss, plus while that weather is active anyways, they're also going to get boosted up in a little bit of power, so that's good. Next we have Dirty Fighting 3, which powers up moves when a move's target or targets is affected by a status condition. That's perfectly fine. We don't necessarily have a do we have a way? I mean, outside of like Thunder, Blizzard, and Fire Blast, yeah, we do have a pretty good way to inflict status conditions, so that's a pretty decent addition there. We also do have a special attack plus 10. Moving into this bottom little section here, we do have a special attack plus 5. Then we do have the psychic boosts, all plus 4 powers, which is great. We do have agile entry 2, which actually is going to sharply raise the user's evasiveness when the Pokemon enters the battle. So right off the bat, you're going to get some evasiveness out of it. If you have that, it is going to be locked behind a level 3 to start. We also do have an extra power on psychic plus 4 there. Also going to be locked behind level 3. We do have Shifty, I almost want to say Shifty Striker 2, which occasionally raises the user's evasiveness when the Pokemon uses a move. So right as soon as you use a move, you could occasionally get some more evasiveness. It's weird because a lot of this stuff is giving us a ton of evasiveness, which is, I mean, that's fine. It's just interesting how they're making Mew like this super dodgy type. Kind of interesting. Next, in our little corner here, we do have some HP, some special defense, some regular defense. We do have some more sync move based power like we talked a little bit about earlier. Then we do have First Aid 4, which should actually be giving us a little bit of HP once during battle when the Pokemon is in a pinch. That's a pretty standard passive. A lot of sync pairs end up using that. Then we do have Natural Remedies. Once per battle, removes all status conditions from the user when the user is inflicted by any status condition. So once per battle, if you get confused, it's going to remove it. If you get poisoned, it's going to remove it. Just once per battle, that's decent. Next, we do have a World of Dreams, MP Refresh 3, of course, which is going to give us a little bit of an extra usage out of that. Moving into our last little section here, we do have a Speed plus 10, and this is the Thunder Quadrant, or Thunder section. All the Thunder power-ups there. We do have an Accuracy, which is going to be locked behind a level 3. We do have Special Reserves 2, which is once per battle sharply raise the user's special attack when in a pinch, which is fine. And then we do have Hostile Environment 1, which is going to increase the likelihood that we're going to be inflicting status conditions with the effects of moves. So all in all, there is a ton of move, just a ton of different options that you can go with here. And as far as a build that I had, so I haven't seen too many builds already. I mean, this is pretty new, so it doesn't surprise me that there's not a ton of builds. But I came up with like a basic skeleton that I would kind of tell people that this is a decent place to start. And then it really is going to depend on which way you want to take your Mew. So the one that I'm going to basically suggest to start with is going to be the center ring in the center, of course, as always. We're then also going to get all of the remaining stat increases directly adjacent to the centers. This, for one, is going to give us access to all of the quadrants wherever you want to go, but it's also stat increases, so there's nothing wrong with that. Now, for me personally, I would think, in my mind, that the best way to take Mew is to give us something that is going to benefit us way before we ever get our sync move off, because my pessimistic little brain here wants to think that maybe I'm not going to get off a sync move, maybe I'm not going to be able to get to Fire Blast, Thunder, and Blizzard, maybe I'm not going to be able to use them. So I personally think that powering up Swift is going to be a good option here. Right in that quadrant, it's perfectly fine. There's no big deals with that. I also think that getting the move gauge refresh on Swift would actually be pretty good. And then outside of that, I think powering up Psychic would actually be a good move here because it gives you a ton of versatility on Mew right before you power up anything else. It gives you a good foundation to kind of sit on while you think about what else you want to do. So we do have 19 energy remaining. We only have 522 orbs. And the cool thing here is you can kind of go any direction that you really want to. You want extra sync move damage? You can start with that and then just kind of fill in the gaps on the remaining 9 energy. Would you rather have Fire Blast? By all means, go ahead, go deep into Fire Blast there. You still have 5 energy remaining and you still have plenty of orbs left. You want to go with Blizzard? Go for it. You can even get the accuracy there. You have 3 energy remaining. You can get, I don't know, you could go for some Fire Blast, I guess, or some Thunder over here. The stat increases aren't going to really help us too much. But yeah, so you kind of get the idea. If you want to go Thunder, personally, Thunder is kind of in a weird spot because it doesn't have the accuracy unlocked right now. So not a like 100% like recommending Thunder at the moment, but it's definitely viable, and especially if you plan on running Mew with Winona for the rain, and then maybe throw Claire in there with her new Sync Grid stuff and all this kind of like, that's actually setting up to be a pretty cool team. But yeah, it really just kind of depends on which direction you want to take. This is the basic foundation that I would highly suggest, and then you kind of build it out from whatever you want from there. So if you do want Thunder, you go into that section. If you want Blizzard, you go into that section. If you want Fire Blast, you go into that section. Kind of like just power up whichever move that you really want to let Mew shine with. I've seen a couple of people talk about how Mew could be really interesting with Blizzard, because if you paired it with Price, you would basically have two really interesting ice type attackers that are fairly strong. And I think that's a great thing, but it doesn't just work in that scenario. It also works with Fire Blast. If you want two Infernapes, pretty much. I mean, you can basically run Mew with a ton of fire damage, and you can have Infernape with Fire Blast as well. Or if you want extra electric damage, you run Howl for the AoE, and then run Mew for the thunder damage. I mean, it works in many different ways, and it just really depends on what your main focus is with Mew, on which direction you take. But that is actually going to be it for Mew and, well, Professor Oak and Mew's Sync Grid. So they're still not currently out. I don't have anything to really show off for them yet, but I'm super eager for Friday. On Valentine's Day, we get a new professor. So either way, we are going to do a quick Sync Fair Scout. We're just going to continue on the Kukui banner here. I'm pretty sure I looked at the rates, and I think it's actually easier for me to get Elisa on this banner than it is on the Brandon and Lyra banner, for whatever reason. So on the count of three, if you want to follow along, we're going to go in 1, 2, 3. So no flashy animation. It did delay. It happens, man. It's weird. I feel like that little delay gives me something interesting. So it's just a 3-star antenna. Do we get 4-star doors? It's not. Okay, I'm just crazy. We got a Roxanne. All good. So that is actually going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for watching. As always, remember, if you want to join the Discord, there's a link down in the description below. Also, down there are links to YouTube memberships and Patreon if that's your thing. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and head out, but I will catch you in the next video.